Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'd like to start with a quote. The ears of the leader must ring with the voices of the people. Great president once said that. Mr. President, I rise today to make it clear to everyone in this chamber exactly why I cannot support this legislation. You've heard the chants outside this chamber, not just today and last night, but many times over the past 2 years. Thousands of people have shown up, union and non-union, men and women, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, even their children. These are the working families of Michigan. These are the thousands of people that I would sit here to represent. When I vote no, I'm voting no on behalf of the thousands of families. Who are you voting yes for? Grover Norquist? I know he sent you all a letter asking you to support this anti-worker legislation. You are voting yes because a handful of corporate lobbyists, a handful of fat cats in the back are telling you to. That's who you work for, the powerful few, the guys with top hats and monocles. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. I work for the people, for the many. I proudly represent them in casting this no vote. I'm doing what's right, what's good for the people. And I tell you this, Mr. President, we will fight you. We will not let this stand. We'll fight you from Kalamazoo to Timbuktu. We'll fight you from the streets and in the suites. We'll fight you in the pit house and we'll fight you in the outhouse. And Mr. President, I'll tell you this right now. When it's all said and done, when it's all over, we will grab the thunderbolt of truth. We will grab the rod of revolution and we will have our victory. And the spoils will go to the working people of Michigan. And you will forever remember the day when you thought you could conquer labor. You were sorely mistaken. Be prepared to engage in the fight of your life. You might win this battle, but the wars are brewing, sir. The wars are brewing, sir. And we're coming, and we're taking no prisoners, and we're taking no quarter. And Mr. President, when all said is done, working men and women of this state will reign supreme. Thank you, and I ask that my comments be printed in the journal. No matter where you watch it from, your living room, your den, you could be outside, queued it up. It's a beautiful day because we all know it was raining yesterday. No matter where you're at, or no matter where you watch it from, you could be watching on the internet from Yale, or you could be watching in jail. Wherever you at, we love you. We appreciate you. We thank God for you. And we say thank you so much for watching The Young Effect, because here we consider everybody to be family. That being said, I just want to also honor the young men and women of the armed services who give the ultimate sacrifice of their lives for the freedoms we so richly enjoy right here in the good old US of A. I want to thank them, and I also want to thank their families, because we know that every single person that goes out there and fights on the front line does not go alone. There is somebody that loves them, somebody that cares for them, and somebody that's waiting for them to come home. So we are going to continue to honor them. We are going to continue to appreciate them until every single last one of them comes home. That being said, I also want to thank our local heroes, our local police, our firefighters, our emergency services personnel, everybody that serves us at the local level. We love you. We appreciate you. Please join us for a moment of silence for the men and women who give the ultimate sacrifice of their lives for the freedoms we so richly enjoy in the United States of America. Please join me for a moment of silence. All right, thank you so much. And today it's open mic night. You can call in, talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. Obviously, you know, there's some limits to it. So, you know, you can call in and have conversations. I'll let you know if you cross the line or not. But if you want to talk about whatever you want to talk about, please let me know. You can call in. However, I just want to let people know that there's been another shooting of an African-American man. This is an armed man. Details have not been given to who he was or who the officer was that shot him yet. So we'll be looking at this closely over in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So we'll be looking at this very closely. The National Guard has been ordered. I know some people are saying, well, why are you talking about this in other states? Well, listen, I personally believe that we need to, you know, I read something once in a book that said that a man who learns from his own mistakes is wise. A man who learns from someone else's mistakes is happy. I want to be happy. And the best way for us to be happy is to make sure that we have policies in place in this state so we can prevent as much as possible and reduce as much as possible, ultimately for the goal of eliminating African-American men who are law-abiding getting shot and killed. And have laws in place for people who are law-abiding if there is an officer who violates the law and kills an African-American person or anyone for that matter illegally. There are consequences put in place for that. Because I believe that the majority of law enforcement is heroes. Honest, hardworking Americans. The problem is that the small ones that do engage in these type of illegal actions, there are no laws or penalties in place to hold that person accountable. Listen, man, it's just like this, okay? Just because you enforce the law does not give you license to violate it. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. Because it's only a matter of time before it happens here, or it has happened. Has happened in a lot of cases. But it's open mic night. You can talk about whatever you want to talk about. We got some calls. Caller, you on the air. Welcome to the Young Effect. Hello?
Hello, Mr. Young.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine now. I'm
Okay,
glad to see you on television. I'm glad you said what you did just a few minutes ago because you're telling the truth. But we got so many people in the city of Detroit, not only in the city of Detroit, all over, but I'm interested in the city of Detroit. We don't take care of each other. We don't help each other. We fight against each other, and when people ask us to vote for them, as soon as they get into office, they don't know where we live at. They don't know what we do. They don't know how we exist in the city of Detroit. The only thing they want is that position. And I got 10 names that I'm going to put in the newspaper, because if they'll put them in there, because they're not helping their own race of people. Look at downtown. When we ask people to help the people in the city of Detroit, they didn't do anything for us. They didn't do anything for us, but they hired a lot of us to work for them and do what they wanted them to do, and they did it. They did it. They gave away the city of Detroit because the only thing we're interested in is playing music and laughing and giggling, and that's not true.
I would say that.
The smartest
we
children
interested in a lot more than that.
In the city of Detroit that you will ever see. These children are brilliant.
Why don't you, instead of putting 10 people in the paper, that you don't like or people that aren't doing something, why don't you put 10 people's name in the paper that you do believe can do something and that we should vote for?
Well, you haven't seen me put anybody's name in the paper yet, but I'm not, I'll say it on television before I say it, put it in the paper. But it's the idea of what I'm saying. We
appreciate that.
We have to come together and work together for our children in the city of Detroit and have good jobs. We don't even have a school, Mr. Coleman. We don't have a school for our children to go to. And they're worried about who spits on the ground and what looks bad on the ground and pick up the paper
What
off the
looks
ground.
bad in the
But they're not
ground?
worried about their children in public schools. There's not a public school in the city of Detroit right now.
47% of the city is functionally illiterate. 47%. 10% of the kids who graduate are college ready. 10%. That means that 90% are not. Now, we got schools in Detroit. The problem is that right now they are starting to become more of a special needs provider than they are being actual schools with the task of educating children. Because what happens now is that we have more children who are going to charter schools than who are going to public schools. And the children that the charter schools either can't or do not want to educate after they've been accepted in the lottery are now going to the public schools. And so what you have is you have this disproportionate amount of children with special needs that are in the public schools, and you have this much more smaller amount of children with special needs who are in the charter schools. And so it is changing not only the educational landscape, it's also changing the educational purposes. And DPS is starting to become a more specialized district rather than a more broadly based educational school district, which is what its intention was supposed to be. And that's what we have here now. And that's one of the reasons why the fight against the DEC was so incredibly intense, was because it was giving the DEC the ability not just to regulate the public schools, but also the charter schools as well in terms of opening and closing. Not in terms of the number that they could be, but in terms of where they could open and where they could close. My issue was the fact that they did not have any sort of reading remediation or any sort of expanded learning time or any sort of statewide programs that have been duplicated across the country that have helped with literacy for our children. We've gotten so much into science, technology, engineering, and math, which is good, but we focus so much on the fancy and the glossy things of education that we've forgotten about the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic. And that's what our children need now, and that's not being taught, that's not being emphasized. We're having all these other debates about who governs it, and who controls it, and what's the school name going to be, and what's the debt load going to be. And we're not talking about giving our teachers, in the unions, and busting the unions, and going after teachers. And we have not had a conversation about, are we giving our educators all the tools necessary? Are we putting them in the best position possible? Are we providing the most flexibility? Are we passing the best laws that will put our educators in a place to be able to maximize our children being able to learn and make the essence of DPS excellent? Are we doing that? And I don't think we have. And I don't think we've been doing that for a long time. And I don't think anybody's really been asking those questions for a long time.
Well, you have a good case there, but you know what, Mr. Young? Tell me how many public schools are there for white children? How many public schools do white children go to?
I don't know. That's a good. I don't have the racial breakdown.
That's the whole point.
I don't have the
Everybody knows how many public schools that black children don't have and do have, but you don't know how many children, white children that live in the city of Detroit, go to these so-called public schools that we have for our children.
Yeah, I don't know
and the children aren't dumb. These children aren't dumb. These children are smart.
Very smart.
But it's the idea that they're going to a school that don't have the right teachers in it sometimes. But I'm off of that subject because I'm a great-grandmother now, and all my children are teachers and everything else. But it's the idea. I love the children in the city of Detroit, regardless of what goes on and how they do it. I love them because these children are just as smart as anybody else. But you look at the white children have public schools, and they don't close their schools up. They don't do anything to them. They only pick on the people that our people give to them. And our people work downtown. They work in Lansing. They work in Washington. They work all over. They're hurting their own race of children. They want them to be slaves again like our ancestors were. And I don't think that's right. I don't think that's fair. They're just as smart as anybody else's children. They do just as hard work as anybody else's children. But the idea, the schools are gone. We don't have anything anymore. You go downtown, you don't even know what downtown is now because it's not for us. We got Belle Isle. You don't know even what Belle Isle is like anymore. Nothing in Detroit, and they're getting ready to move these people off of Jefferson, off all the rest of these streets because they don't want us here. I don't know any place else to go because I was born and raised here, and I'm going to fight for what I believe in. I'm not going to talk about my race of people, and I don't want to talk about the other race of people. I just want to live just as well as they do and have just as much as they do, and us as black people, stop giving them everything because they give you a little extra money for your paycheck. Stop that. Take up for your own race of people, and maybe these children would grow up to fight for you in the city of Detroit before they take us all out of here. And I want to thank you for taking my call. But we got to stop doing this and start speaking up for these children and these seniors. The seniors pay more taxes than anybody in the city of Detroit. Seniors do.
All right,
and I'm one of them.
Well, listen, I appreciate
you. And we pay taxes,
and I thank you
and
for
we
your
don't
call.
have anything.
Listen, I love you, Eastside. I thank you for your
All
call.
right, so I just want them to understand this. I'm not
understand.
fighting against hardly anybody, but it's the idea. I want us to live just as well as they
equal
do.
treatment, equal
Thank you
justice
for
under the
taking my
law.
call.
I totally agree with you. I appreciate you. Equal treatment economically. I think that's an American principle right there. Hello, caller, you on the air.
Hi, this is Kathy.
Hey, Kathy, what's going on, Kathy?
And please forgive me. I came in late on the show. Was there a certain topic that you were talking about?
No, it's open mic, so you can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
Well, I'm very disturbed about the Milwaukee uprising with the recent killing of another black youth by a police officer. And it seems as though that police officers around the country are being either killed, or there was another police officer in upstate New York that was stabbed. And I have to give some kudos to our police chief because we don't have that here in our city. I know there was a time that I really didn't understand his work ethic and the things that he would say, but I really have to give him, my hat is off to him because you don't hear about that here in Detroit.
No, you
don't hear about the police officers shooting and killing our young men. You don't hear that.
No,
you haven't.
I don't
understand why it is that the police officers are shooting to kill and not shooting to maim or to stop or to tase. There's no more of that. It's to shoot to kill.
Well, I think
it's no longer.
I think with deadly force, you are taught that when you use deadly force, you use it deadly. You use it to kill. When you take a gun, you shoot someone to put them down, because otherwise they're gonna put you down. That's why that's why people are so upset, I believe, at the fact that you're shooting unarmed men, because they don't have anything to threaten you with in order for you to use deadly force the same way as somebody who did have a weapon. You understand what I'm saying? So I mean, I understand why once they use deadly force, they use to kill people. My question is why they use deadly force to begin with. Now they're saying that this man had a gun. I don't know all the situation yet, and I'm going to be reading into it further. They haven't released a whole lot of details yet about what happened here. But my concern is it seems to me that when these incidents happen, and the men who do this, they do this in a way where it possibly could have been avoided. Where if they just would have had a conversation with someone, or if they just would have talked to someone, or if they just would have actually tried to de-escalate the situation, this could have been avoided. And I think it's because there's preconceived notions, and everybody has them. There's a preconceived notions of when going into these communities of color, African American communities, particularly when you're dealing with African American men. There's a preconceived notion, and there's also a permissive attitude that it is okay to be more aggressive. It is okay to be more hostile. It is okay to use deadly force, and statistics have shown. I think with police officers, they're 3 times more likely to use deadly force than African Americans. They're 9 times more likely to kill an African American. So I think an African American is killed once every 28 hours by a police officer, if I'm not mistaken, according to a study that came out. So I'm not saying that this is all cops. It's not. It's a very small percentage. I don't think this is a police problem. I don't think it's a police union problem. I don't think it's a societal problem. I think it's a legal problem. I think that if we had laws in place that would prevent these sort of things from happening and make sure that there are punishment and consequences and arrests for this type of behavior, it would stop. And until we have that, it's not going to. It's just not.
Well,
if there are no penalties for this,
sad.
it's going to continue.
It's really sad. It's really sad. With
It's
everything that's
unfortunate.
going on,
It is.
You just keep hearing about these police officers and these young men getting killed. And it's just scary. But again, I have to thank our police chief, Craig.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Doing a great job. Yeah, Chief James Craig.
But
Yeah.
I just want to put my hat is off to him because, again, we don't have that problem here in Detroit.
And all the
Even
Detroit
though
police.
We do have white officers now who are patrolling our city and our streets, even though they don't live in the city. But I just appreciate that we don't have that issue here.
Yeah.
It's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, Kathy. We appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
And not to go too far back, or or to pat my father or my father's legacy on the back, but also I think one of the reasons why we really don't have that as well is because of what my father did with the police force when he became mayor, primarily to make sure that it was diverse, but also when he put together the police commission, had civilian oversight over the police department. I think that legacy continues to this day, and one of the reasons why Detroit has not had some of the problems that other cities do when it comes to police departments and policing. And I want to, again, give a very special shout out to Chief James Craig and all the Detroit police officers. They are true American heroes and the best of us. We got another caller? Caller, you're on the air. Welcome to the Young Effect.
Good evening, Senator.
Hey.
Hey, Deputy Chief. How are you doing?
How you doing, Deputy Chief?
All right. Say hello to your mother.
I will.
And cousin for me.
I will.
Yeah. Hey, what do you think of Councilman Benson's bastardized community benefit ordinance?
Well, we know what you think of it. Listen. Here's the thing. I personally believe that a community benefits agreement without sanctions is not a community benefits agreement. So if you're not without a mandate, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I support the community benefits agreement, the original community benefits agreement. The problem is that community benefits agreements are banned at the state level. They are banned. So if you were to pass this ordinance, which I will be supporting, does state law, which supersedes local law, does that wipe out what you just passed?
Okay, I'm glad that you mentioned that. Okay. Is to you, in your mind, is there a difference between ordinance and agreement?
Oh yeah, it's a huge. I mean, ordinance is backed by law. You know what I'm saying? I mean, an agreement. I mean, it depends on what the agreement is. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I mean that's enforced by. But an ordinance is a law enforced by the government.
Right. It's the law, as you say, it's enforced by the government, and that government is state government. It allows the local municipality to operate with the blessings of the state government.
Listen. I personally think that they should. You know what I'm saying? I personally think that I just don't know just with that state law. I'm not saying that they couldn't. I just don't know with that state law if that's possible for them to do that. I'm not saying they could. I'm not saying they couldn't. It'll probably be in the courts, and then they'll probably decide. I mean, that's what I'm looking at right now. But I just hate for this issue to come up, for all these people who have worked all this hard and earnest for this to happen, for them to do what they're doing, for them to get this on the ballot, for it to pass in Detroit, and then for state law to wipe it out. Because it's specific in terms of its intent, in terms of not allowing local units of government not to be able to have community benefits agreements, not to be able to allow local governments to decide whether or not the minimum wage should be raised in their city. It is specific in terms of banning local governments from doing that.
Okay, what do you think of Councilwoman Janae Ayers voting against the people?
For what?
On the CBA issue.
You should go ask Councilwoman Janae Ayers about that.
Well, I mean, I'm asking your opinion.
Why? I don't know why she did what she did. I love you, brother, but, you know, I do have a job as a state senator where, you know, I got enough things I got to worry about on my side of the fence.
Okay. I got you. I got you.
Yeah.
No problem. No problem. But anyway, this community benefit agreement issue, it addressed 97, if not 100% of the challenges that's facing us in Detroit. It's too important to have folks sitting here. We got the highest poverty rate in the United States, the highest unemployment rate in the United States.
40%.
And right now,
11% unemployment.
There's nothing that the city
15,000 median income
to provide jobs or job trainings for sustainable jobs that's making $30, $40, $60 an hour. And CBAs can provide that.
Yeah, it has provided. It has.
Oh, yeah.
It has across the country. We would be, I think, the first city. We would be the first city, I think, to have an actual ordinance that does that. But I support. I mean, look. I think that in Detroit, we are going to have to go above and beyond where we need to go in order to make sure that Detroiters are included in the development. So
exactly,
I support it.
You got to have the people have the ability to sit down with the developer on the front end before the deal is finalized with the city and the developer.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
Now that's a true community benefit agreement, because that's what gives the people the leverage. If you look at the hockey arena right now, the community advisory group, the Olympia Holdings won't even talk to them. Okay, they won't even talk to Councilwoman Lopez and Sheffield, who was speaking for the advisory group. And so that's what happens when the people are brought in on the tail end after everybody, the politicians and the developer, come out the back room.
Well, I mean, they don't have to. I mean, you know, the way it's set up, they don't have to. They should, but they don't have to. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Because the people are brought in,
and you know,
on the tail end.
And I think with the community benefits ban, I mean, I think that you know is what it is now. I'm not saying that because I don't have all the facts in front of me. So I mean, and they're saying that they're adhering to the 51%. You know,
which they're not.
The 51% requirement, you know, I'll take them at face value until otherwise. So, I mean, I believe what they're saying is true. And look, I like hockey. You know what I mean? I think I think it's a good development, but is it in terms of what could we have done something where we could have set this up to where people would have had more of an opportunity or a say-so in terms of being involved? Yeah. But, I mean, it is what it is now. Community benefits agreements are banned now across the state. And until that law is changed, you know?
Yo, I hear everything you're saying. But here's the deal, too. When the developer asks to use taxpayer dollars or public land subsidies, the community have to get some type of benefit. This is 21st century. Sure. I mean, look, I agree. I agree. I agree. And I think that, you know, and quite honestly, I think that
I think developers agree. I think everybody who's building it agrees. I don't think it's so much that I don't think it's so much that they don't agree. I think it's that it's in the details of the negotiation and how it comes out and where it is and where you apply this stuff at.
Oh yeah, it's all
you understand what I'm saying? I think that's really kind of where this is. I'm not saying that I'm not dissing the illegals here. I'm sure they would want to do more to have Detroiters be involved in the process. I think it's just how we negotiate that and how we put that together. And how this was put together, from my standpoint, there could have been things that should have been done differently. That's all.
Oh, yeah, without question. Hey, so thanks a lot for taking my call.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Caller.
Hey, Brother Young.
Hey.
How's it going, brother? This is the unofficial defender. I just want to call in and chime in on what you're talking about, especially on the educational piece.
Yeah.
Now, what's so bad about the charter schools and this Common Core thing is that they grade your child starting at 70% to 100. And there's a very dangerous slope and scale, because even if your child is doing good, they saying it ain't good enough if it's not in the 70%. So, of course, when your child get to a charter school or somewhere, they going to make them look like they haven't been learning nothing because of their scale have been so high on that grade level. I mean, think about it. There is no 1 to 100 like it was when you and I were in school. It's 70 to 100, which is very unfair to the children.
Before
you have children
we start talking about grade scale and 70 to 100 or 0 to 100, let's make sure they can count to 0 to 100. Let's make sure they can read, and let's make sure they can write 0 to 100. Before we start talking about grades or structure or how you want to put it together. I went to a school where they didn't have A's and B's. They had E's and other stuff that they use. You know what I'm saying? There's all different kind of ways you can do it. But right now, we need to focus on basics. Can you understand 0 to 100? Can you read? You know what I'm saying? Do you know vowels?
I think the kids can. I'm like the East Side ladies.
Sure,
the
they can.
so bright,
but you gotta be taught that first. You gotta be taught how to do that first.
Well, I think for a lot of that stuff, it comes natural. It's just when somebody tells you what you know is no longer sufficient, you yourself begin to dismiss what you know.
Everybody has got to be. So, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, but I'll just say everybody's got everybody is different, and everybody's got to be taught. Look, I'll give you an example with me. Before I was born, my mother used to read to me when I was in the womb. Okay, like the Wall Street Journal and the paper and stuff like that every day. When I was born, I knew how to read. I was able to teach myself how to read because I was read too. What I'm saying is we got to start teaching our kids early. That's why we need universal pre-K. But early, start teaching our kids reading, writing, and arithmetic. So when they get older and they get to where they need to be, they already going to have the skills to do what they need to do. And what I'm saying is a lot of our school programs, a lot of our school programs are not really financially equipped, don't have the proper reforms or the structure or the governing structure necessary in order to or the standards required, quite frankly, really to be able to teach our children what they need so they can go on to be where they want to become. And I think that's the issue that we need to start addressing, and we really not. It happens.
I'm with you on that. Ann Ivy Calvert is a dynamic woman. Like you said, she read to you, and early childhood preparation is really one of the keys to the future success of our children. I would ask our people this before I go. I've always thought that because of the attacks on our educational system and what we've been going through over the last 10 years, it's just time, I think, that we begin to rear our children in a new way of thinking, in a new way of employment, in a new way of education, in a new way of economics. I think this is the time to really rear our children in a better way. If we have a better way, because I don't see the success.
What is the new way? What is that? Explain.
Well, you know, I look at the like when we go to the store, you have an Arabic child in there cashing your check. Mm-hmm. His parents is rearing him to do something totally different than the dream that we rear our children towards. Whereas education, or to prove ourselves through their system, is one of the main goals. When it all comes down to it, it's about survival. It's about survival, and some people are teaching their kids to go to school, while some people are teaching their children to be money changers. I don't think our children are not capable of learning great things like money changing and money exchanging at young ages. And what that type of teaching does, it puts your mind in a whole different economic realm of thinking when it comes to, especially when it comes to your future. What am I going to do? Of course, they want our children to be on one particular pattern and one set of way of doing things, so they can do what they have to do on the back end.
Yeah.
But for the child that is a bit more prepared, that child will succeed and pass, and it will succeed there. The limitations that they set up for the child.
Well, that's why
I don't know, Brother Young. I just looked at it.
I agree with you saying.
Maybe we need to start thinking differently.
Well, look, that's why I think that teacher development and teacher training is so important. That's why I also think that if you want to send your child to a school, you know, that's based off of African thought or African empowerment, you know what I mean, or that's what you choose to do with your child. I also believe that that's why we got to have certain standards across the board in terms of teacher development and teacher training, so that they know these things, they understand these things, and they can teach those children that, and they can expand that horizon. And also why curriculum is so important as well. So that can be part of the curriculum, whether it is money exchanging or whether it is Wall Street. You know what I'm saying? That's why finances are important too, because you got to be able to pay for the kids to go to New York to show them what Wall Street is, if you're trying to do that, and then have them come back. You understand what I'm saying? Have a place to stay when you over there, and then come back. So I understand what you're saying, but I would just say it just kind of goes more to the core of what already needs to be done as far as Detroit is concerned, in terms of finance, in terms of academic reform, in terms of teacher training, and the like. So I thank you. I appreciate your call.
Hey, you know I always love dialogue with you, my brother.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure,
yes,
brother.
Sir.
DJ 6 Mix, love you, my man. All right, we got another caller.
Hello.
Caller, hello.
Hello.
Hey.
Yes. You've made a couple of comments today. We were talking about education, and we were talking about the police. Let me say what I believe about education, and I'm beyond high school and other things, and my children also. There is a relationship that is built that we had a history of in this city. When I say a relationship, and the way it was structured is you lived in a community, and you went to a elementary school, and you went to a high school, and you had a group of people. Now, learning is not just from one person, another one teacher, and they're different subjects. And you get learning from your environment also. Now, we moved because every school, but we didn't have the ability to make every school the same, to do the same, especially in Detroit. If you really look at it, and there were schools in Southwest Detroit, East Side, and whatnot, but it was financially impossible to give the same things to every school. I mean, that's just a reality. So, but you have people say, well, why can't my child get the same thing? Now, so you wanted to change this. Okay. Now, the other thing is that you're asking teachers that have, and teachers, the process of educating someone is a not only a skill, but it takes intelligence to do not only for one child, but for many children. That's why they go to college. That's why they learn this process, regardless of what you're going to teach, whether it be science, engineering, and all the rest of the stuff. You have to know the thing. And now they're moving towards, at least what the governor and charter schools, that you're going to learn on your own. Well, that may be also, but why test my child? That's the problem with things. Why do it to my child before you find out if it works? Because no one has that much time. You know, especially when you have to move on and you have to have some skills and talents to compete in this America. Am I making sense so far?
I understand. I think I understand what you're saying.
Our government, and I won't say the government, but I'll say our when you go to Lansing and they've taken over the schools and all the other stuff, that they've done this, and they said, we're going to do something new. Well, it's fine if it works for their children. You know, the question is, do you want the same thing for your child? When you're making these laws, do you want the same thing for your child that you're demanding someone else's child?
Yeah.
To me, that's the test.
Yeah. I understand what you said wholeheartedly, because, you know, city of Detroit public schools are the only schools district in Michigan that's struggling. There's a lot of other schools out there that are struggling. A lot of schools that are struggling financially. You know what I'm saying? A lot of schools are struggling academically.
And you get divorced from the teacher comes to the table with a attitude that is conducive for all people. Now, I don't want to claim anybody as being racist and all this other stuff, but do you know what? Some people wake up in the morning and say, I'm just not going to teach this idiot, this person, anything. I'm not going to do the job. Now, you take you, and I don't know if that's the truth, but I know that's a possibility. But when it happens to your child and you move on, how do you recover? How did that parent recover? They usually don't. Okay. Now, the other thing you said about Chief Craig, when the lady was giving him a lot of praise, but I think the book is still out on the child. But the reason I feel that this community doesn't have, at this point, all those shootings and killings is because of the population that's here. The population that has went through your father and an understanding of other people, which is different than other communities. We had a mayor that respected his citizenry, that did for his citizenry. Now we're moving on, we're changing. We got other people to do other things. But I can't give Craig all this credit. I give it to the community is the reason that we don't have this. That you have tolerant people, more tolerant people. Now you got intolerant people that don't know how to satisfy their argument, and they get a gun and they're going to shoot. You can't change that. You can only correct it afterwards, maybe. You can only do the punishment, maybe. It's not going to bring back somebody else's life. You got to change attitudes. And that changing attitudes.
Well, there are crime prevention techniques that you can deploy in order to prevent or reduce gun violence and shootings. There are also things that we can do federally as well in terms of reducing gun violence.
You can do those things, but if someone is bent on doing harm to someone else,
I understand what you're saying.
I don't have any faith that you're going to change that person.
Right. I understand what you're saying. I get what you're saying.
Okay. The other thing is, I was listening to one more thing, to another conversation on national television. They were talking about the presidency and who was fit and whatnot. One of the things that struck out to me was that they were talking about organization. So whoever you choose is going to bring a team of 4,000 people to run this country. Okay. Now I look at this, and when I look at Governor Snyder, he brought a team of people to destroy the black communities in this state. He brought a team that was their purpose, to change the dynamics of those communities and bring other people in, whether it be gentrification or whatnot. And even if you change the governor, you'll still have those people in the state government, legislators, that have no good feelings for people of color. I don't think they're going to win because they're going to be outnumbered sooner or later. But that's my opinion. Thank you for taking my call.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for your call. Yeah, we got another caller. Caller, you on the air? Welcome to the Young Effect.
I don't know, and I don't understand what part people don't get, that we are prisoners of war. We have no rights to education, to water, housing, food. We're set up in the matrix to be killed or killed. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you for your call. Love you. Appreciate you. Thank you for your call. I think we have access to rights, and I think you have access to water. I think we have access to all that. But, you know, it's like Frederick Douglass says, man, power concedes nothing without demand. You know, you're just going to have to demand these things. You know, that's just the way it's going to be right now. We got another caller?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I'm enjoying your program.
Good.
I love your T-shirt.
Thank you.
And I really enjoy listening to you each week.
Excellent. Thank you.
My question is very brief. I would like to know the bonding agent for the Detroit Public Schools. Who is that?
Say it again.
Who are we paying back for the money that we allowed to be taxed?
You know what? There's a lot of people who I know that the person who allows us to borrow
I know you probably
is the
don't
state.
know that today.
But yeah, I don't know
the
the actual
that
company.
Information, and what we should be doing is contacting the bonding agent. You know, why are we going through all of these changes? This is our money. We need to talk to the bonding agency, not the Congress, not the governor, not anybody. We need to talk to the people we owe. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, it's the state. As I said, the state was the one that primarily allowed this, was the one that allowed the city to be able to borrow using their credit. So, I mean, you'd have to go talk to the state again. So, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it's the state, and it's the state is making these decisions. So, I mean, you know, they choose the bonding agent. The bonding agent don't choose them. You know what I'm saying? Now, the bonding agent can decide whether or not they're going to accept their offer or not, but that's why voting is so critical. People get in office based on votes. If you don't come out to vote, especially when the majority of these races are decided in the primary, and you don't vote, you know, it's a problem. It's a significant problem. And let me just say this too. I forgot to say. I want to be full disclosure here. First of all, the Illages have made a lot of investments in Detroit, and were investing in Detroit before anyone else was. I want to make sure that I just get this clear. I'm not bashing their investments. I'm just saying that if we are going to put ourselves in a position where Detroiters want to be able to have access to jobs and access to economic opportunity, we are going to have to start demanding of our lawmakers and our leaders that we craft policies in a way that will do that. Not bashing their investment, not bashing what they've done for Detroit. They've done a lot. And they're doing a lot of investment. It's just, if we want to participate, we got to start talking to our leaders. We got to start talking to our lawmakers and demand to participate in that conversation. What? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm having a conversation with my mom. This is why you should come on the program instead of being over there in the corner. Yeah. No, don't go walk over here. No.
I'm so
Hello?
sorry.
You know what?
Please
this is
forgive
ridiculous.
Me. I'm so sorry.
You are out of control.
Please forgive me.
Just because you got sequins on.
But
go ahead.
It's not just the policies. You need to see the community as people who can become investors.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they see the community that way.
Like with the casino.
Yeah, that takes a transformative leadership change in how you perceive the people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, you coming back on?
No.
It's going to be official? Oh, you're just going to leave me hanging. I love Detroit is going to jump in and do it. Oh, okay, I see how it is. Caller, you on the air? Welcome to my hijacked Young effect. Hello.
Listen, first of all, everybody's talking about this thing. We need a formal conference with people sending papers in, and so we can cover the whole area of what our needs are. A real conference, because education is a thing where you have inputs from every area of the community, because every area, it affects every area of the community. And second of all, I agree with you. Your father, I believe he had the best program for the police department. There are a lot of things that went on when he was in power, but we were much more relaxed with the police officers. Okay, and he didn't play any games with them. He told them if they weren't doing an honest job, then they should you hang them high, and those were exactly his words.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. The new thing, I would like computer programming is a new thing. Now, see, they had a big problem when DPS started making students learn computer programming in the 10th grade. You couldn't graduate unless you had computer programming. Computer programming takes your mind from one level to a new level. I don't care what kind of math you know or what area you're in, computer programming relates to that area. English, physical education, all of it, farming, of course, math, etc., etc. It is the new thing, and it has to be enforced. But see, we got competitors. We got people that make a lot of money on computer programming, just like you have these people in the aeronautics area, airplanes, etc. You know, they don't want that kind of competition. So we have to understand the sister was right. We do have enemies. Okay, we're in a war situation. It's not a traditional war situation, but it is war. And we got competition. We got competitors. And the East Side lady was right. We have to learn how to come together. But it goes way beyond just saying it. Okay. So we got a lot of things to do, and the first thing with education, we have to have a real conference on it. I actually wanted to call you to talk about a friend of mine, but I like to get your number, and I'll call you and talk to you about it.
Wait, I can't hear you. Put your mouth to the mouthpiece, man. I can't hear what you're saying. I can't hear you.
I'd like to call you. I called you actually about something else, but I wanted to call you at your office or something and talk to you about a situation that I have. Let's see if you can help me.
Yeah, no problem.
What is your number?
You can call my office number at 517 373 7346.
7346. Okay, but that I don't care what we're doing. We're not going anywhere without education. And people that even think that, you know, our children are dumb, I think that's about the only thing dumb about them.
Our children ain't never dumb. No.
These children are brilliant.
Mm-hmm. And they need to, we just got to improve our education system.
But this is the thing. See, we have to understand that we have
I got a minute left
with our children. we teach our children. We're the best teachers for our children.
Look, I totally agree.
Like
We're going to
like
end it
your
right
mother.
there. We're the
You
best
said your
teachers
mother
for our
read to
children.
you
I
before
appreciate your phone call.
you
Look
were born.
forward to you calling me. Thank you so much. That is my time. Remember, nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care. I love you, appreciate you. Oh, yeah, full disclosure, I'm a supporting Janae Harris for council. Love you, appreciate you. See you later. God bless you. We see you right here on The Young Effect. Bye.